Somewhere far from here, a civilization spent 10,000 years building ships to leave their world. Not one of them ever rose. This is the world they call Vorth. The heavy ground, a real kind of place, a planet far larger and heavier than Earth, where you would weigh 4 times what you weigh now. Its people are short and wide and immensely strong, and by any measure we would recognize brilliant. And every clear night they could see the entire universe laid out above them in perfect detail. A universe they could never, ever touch. They gave the whole of the sky a single name: the sill, the threshold no one would ever cross. It seems like it should be simple. A heavier world just needs a stronger rocket. That is what the Vorthi believed too, for most of their history. They were wrong, and the reason is the quiet engine of everything that follows. To leave a world, you don't need strength, you need speed, fast enough that the planet can never pull you back. On Earth, that speed is about 11 kilometers a second. On Vorth, nearly 28. And the fuel a rocket needs does not climb in step with that speed. It explodes upward. To go 2.5 times faster, they would need a rocket not twice as big, but thousands of times bigger, to lift the very same weight. To carry a single person to the sill, they would have to build a machine heavier than a mountain, and it would still fall back. 2 more doors closed behind the first. Their air is deep and thick, and would tear any fast-climbing craft apart long before it reached the heights, and their world never offered them a stronger fuel. 3 locks on 1 door. They were not held back by a lack of genius. They were held back by arithmetic. And you might expect such a people to turn away from the sky. The Vorthi did the opposite. They fell in love with it, and there was a reason the love ran so deep. Once, long before, they had lost the sky entirely. In an age they remember as the Great Stilling, their thick air filled with ash, and the stars went out. For more than 1,000 years, 40 generations lived and died without ever seeing a single star. When the heavens finally cleared, they swore never to take them for granted again. So they became the finest astronomers imaginable. And here lies the strange miracle of this world. The very things that imprisoned them gave them the greatest eyes in the galaxy. Their crushing gravity held their telescopes perfectly still. So they ground lenses larger than any lighter world could bear. Their endless flat planes let them spread those telescopes thousands of kilometers apart, and join them into a single eye the size of the planet. And because they could never lift an instrument above their own air, they spent 10,000 years perfecting the view from the ground to the very limit of what is possible. They did not see other worlds as faint points of light the way we do. They saw places, continents, oceans, the glow of distant cities on planets circling other suns, worlds they would have given anything to walk upon, and could only ever watch. Knowing a thing is impossible, and accepting it are not the same. For most of their history, the Vorthi refused to accept it. Out of that refusal came the largest undertaking their world ever attempted. They called it the Reach. It lasted in one form or another for 10,000 years. It began with towers, then with great balloons, straining against the heavy air, then with rockets, and then with rockets so vast they were less like vehicles than like cities laid on their sides. Every generation poured a staggering share of the world's labor and wealth into it. Every generation believed it would be the one to finally rise. A whole civilization grew up around the attempt, its engineers a kind of priesthood, its launch grounds holy, its doubters silenced. None of them rose, not the towers, not the balloons, not the mountains they built and called ships. Over and over, across thousands of years, the Vorthi watched the thing they had made strain and tremble and stay. There is a detail in their history that is almost unbearably human. The proof, the full arithmetic showing escape, was not merely hard, but flatly impossible, was within their grasp for a very long time before anyone finished it. And the keepers of the Reach discouraged it, not out of stupidity, out of mercy, and out of fear. To finish the calculation was to kill the dream, and the dream was the thing holding their civilization together. So for centuries, they looked away from the one number that mattered. Then a single archivist finished the work. Their name was Karou. Karou is the reason this is a story, and not simply a sad fact. Karou did the calculation all the way to its end, carefully, honestly, and then publicly. The conclusion was clean and final. There was no rocket, of any size the Vorthi could ever build, that could carry even one of them past the sill. Not now. Not in 1,000 years. Not ever. The door was not stuck. There had never been a door. 10,000 years of striving, named impossible in a single work. The grief was worldwide. But Karou's pages did not end on the proof. In the same work that closed the sky forever, Karou wrote the line, "This whole world turns upon. If we cannot carry our bodies up, we can still send ourselves out as light." The Vorthi made a choice, I think, is the quietly magnificent thing in their entire record. They did not abandon the sill. They did not let 10,000 years rot into despair. They took the whole apparatus of their longing and turned it in a new direction. They called it the Sending. If no Vorthan could ever leave Vorth, then Vorth would leave another way. Across their flat and endless plains, they built vast fields of dishes turned up toward the stars, and into them they poured themselves, their history, their music, the faces of their dead, the great sky maps of their golden age. Everything they were, and had ever known. They broadcast it outward at the speed of light, into the dark they could never sail. No body would ever cross the sill, but the Vorthi would. They would arrive at the stars as a signal, patient, unstoppable, long after the hands that sent them were dust. And that is where their story finds us. A signal like that, sweeping outward for centuries, eventually reaches other ears. It reaches a small blue world where the gravity is gentle, where the door was always open. We who can leave our world and mostly stay, they who never could and found a way regardless. The last thing the Vorthi ever did was reach across the impossible dark and ask us one question. You are not caged, so what is your excuse